Welcome to the Piece by Piece Autism Podcast with your hosts, Angie and Christi. They've worked 25 years to help Alec get the most out of life. Let them tell you how they're doing it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christi Jensen, and this is Angie.
Angie
Angie
Matheney.
Matheney here. We're the two autism ladies that are our podcast is called Piece by Piece, and we're going to be talking about the wonderful almost 3 decades we've had with this great guy called Alec. And today we're going to talk about.
We've got 6 topics to discuss when it comes to deciding what kind of person is going to work well with your child, your adult, your niece or nephew, whoever it may be, who could use a team to support them and to support you and your family members. We've had many individuals come in and out of the home with Alec, and ranging from him being young and there being in-home therapy with Christi's family all around, and now he is an adult living on his own with care around the clock. And it kind of has evolved over the years, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We have been doing this for exactly 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 25 years. We started the home programs at 2.5, and we've done it in 3 states and 2 countries. 2 countries. Yeah, 2 countries. And so
lots of experience.
Yeah.
So
lots of
I
experience.
will just quickly kind of give you
teens.
an idea of the topics we're going to discuss, and then we'll go back and kind of dive a little bit deeper into each of these. But the main ideas and takeaways over the years that we've come to find value in are, first and foremost, the values for your family, education and training, the personality of the people that you want to have your child around, and yourself as well. we have a lot of interaction with these individuals, and what they bring to the table matters. And then a firm or soft approach in the individual that you are hiring. What kind of temperament do they have? We also want to kind of discuss and bring to light a bit about pay rate and what we call a probationary period, a time to kind of ease in and test the waters, so to speak. So Christi's going to kick us off here with talking about values and why that would be something to consider in hiring.
Okay, sure. The values have really evolved for me as Alec has become an adult more than when he was a child.
Yeah.
Although it was really important for me that people have good values or similar values to me whenever we're having a home program. Because, for example, we had one girl that would come and she would dress in quite provocative outfits. And it was like, we wish she wouldn't do that because, you do a lot of physical play and stuff with these kids. And it would have been nice if she had a little bit more clothes on sometimes in team meetings. But anyway, she was a good sport about it. Whenever we had him in a group home as an adult, we found that our values not matching was a little bit troublesome with, they would take him to R-rated movies, which we had expressly told them not to do, and he ended up seeing Straight Outta Compton. And he could not have probably hated that movie more just because he probably didn't understand it. He really prefers Barney the Dinosaur still as a 27-year-old guy. So, and plenty of Disney movies. He does animated Disney movies. And so that was a far cry from what he is used to. And another thing was taking him to parties where there was alcohol and drug use and saying, oh, well, it's age appropriate. He was over 18. And so that sort of thing was alarming to me. And just thinking more and more about, how much are these people actually with my child? I'd really love them to have matching values to me as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's hard to know exactly what people's values are or how they, spend their free
Yeah.
time, but when they are on the clock and on shift with your child, you want to know that they're going to be safeguarded in those ways, and exposure to those kinds of things. If you don't align that way, then that may be something to consider in how and
Yeah.
who you hire, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
All right, moving on to education and training. This has been an interesting one. We've talked a lot about how oftentimes as we interview, and I'm going to kind of touch on some of our interview questions as it pertains to several of these different topics, but we ask first and foremost because we typically hire college-aged students. The setup for Alec currently lends to that. So we always ask, are they in school? What are they studying? What's their work experience? Those kinds of typical general interview questions. But in their education and training, one of our questions is, what do they know about autism? And it's almost preferred in a lot of ways when they don't know much. Nowadays, I think most people know what autism is. They typically know that it's a spectrum and there's this range, and they're talented, and they're these brilliant individuals, but that they're also they're individual selves. And those with less training are almost easier to train because they're coming in with very little bias as to, this is the right way to do something. So don't let that deter you. If someone's coming in and they're meeting your values and their personality seems to have a good fit and they're willing to learn, that's been a really great, exciting thing for me, is to see an individual come in knowing almost nothing. And when their time ends with us, they're saying, oh my gosh, this job has taught me more than I ever dreamed it would, or this has prepared me in ways for life that I didn't expect a job like this to evolve and give them those experiences. Yeah. But it allows us to really tailor that training exactly to Alec and to his specific needs, just as it would for you and your child's specific needs. So, of course, we do appreciate those that come in with maybe some experience. We've had individuals who have had, siblings or cousins or
RBT,
individual experiences or any kind of RBT training. And those things are basic understanding of terminology, and those things are great, but don't let it deter you if someone is not coming in with quote unquote experience. Next is kind of talking about personality traits. And some more of our questions from our interview list. We like to, as much as we can, get an idea for the individual in our interview. They're obviously coming in, putting their best foot forward, but some questions are like, what fun activities do you enjoy doing in your free time? What's our highest response, would you say, to that one, Christi? Hiking. We have so many hikers. Anything outside, sports, with our group being a lot of college-age kids,
college students.
They are out to have a good time. They like to be outside, which is what we love to see, because that aligns perfectly with Alec's needs.
Yeah, a lot of them come with a lot of energy.
Yes.
And that's what we want to see. If someone comes in and they look like they just like to maybe sit around and they're a little bit sedentary, that might not appeal to us at all. That might show in an interview. I can't think of an instance right off the top of my head, but I think that talking about their interests and what would you want to do with Alec, I think really helps us know the kind of person that they are and how much energy they have.
And I will say, we preface this with a little bit of introduction to Alec. They've not met him at this point. We like to meet these individuals before introducing them to Alec, but we like to give them an idea of what Alec's interests are. We have a short video that has pictures depicting him doing all of the outdoor hiking and skiing and wake surfing and floating down the river. He's a very adventurous guy. And so when we are saying, what do you do and what adventures do you see yourself doing with Alec, we'd like to see that they can get excited about doing those things with this cool guy, that they also hopefully enjoy themselves.
Why don't we bring Alec in for the interviews? How would you answer that?
I think Alec feels a lot of, knowing him, I guess, he is a people pleaser. He can also feel maybe the stresses of hiring a new person. He goes through team members as, again, college age students, they graduate and life moves on. And that's probably one of his hardest things, is he loves his team dearly and he relies on his team and he has to trust his team. Because we have interviewed several people that from this list of topics, we say, ooh, don't think this is going to work. And it's not worth that kind of tug and pull with Alec's heartstrings, because he doesn't need that additional stress, I would say. Not to say that he's introduced to people that then don't work out. We've also had that. So it's not a fail safe,
not often.
But yeah, it does take
often.
kind of the edge off, or that first layer, if you can. If your kiddo doesn't seem affected by that much, then that could be a different situation, and maybe you do want to just get them in. I will say, part of our next steps after our interview is to have a meet and greet with Alec. That is the very next thing. Before hiring, that is the next step. But Christi and I kind of can vet these individuals first, make sure that they do have the time, they do have the ability to be with Alec. We've added, our interview questions have evolved over time as we've gone, wait a second, one individual had an allergy to chlorine, and one of Alec's most favorite pastimes is splashing in a chlorine-filled pool. That just was not going to work. So those are somewhat silly on the surface questions, but obviously impactful in his day-to-day. So they matter and will remain as an interview question. But yeah, I think just that first line of defense when there's not a need.
Is it weird to compare it to a person who is who has children, who's maybe dating a second husband or wife candidate, and you don't introduce the kids to the
For sure.
Is that weird?
No.
It kind of reminds me of that. It's like how he can get attached to
Yes.
people, or he can really be empathetic, and I don't know. That's what came to
Yes.
mind for me, but I don't want to assume that is the situation.
No, I think you're on the right track. It just seems like an unnecessary requirement of him
Step.
when we can kind of take the brunt of that. And I think the needs of our team over time, there are times when we need to add one person to our team. There are times we've needed to add 2 to 3 people on our team at once. And then we'll go months where our team just is solid and we're filling the schedule and everybody's trained up and we're moving along great. And it's very, on the up and up. So it's hard to know when we're grabbing one person, 2, 3 people. It's just kind of nice to have all of that happen at once as much as possible for the stress to be as little as it can for him. But
Okay.
So kind of along the personalities, we want to talk about their approach, their firmness, or how soft they are. What have you seen over the years with that?
Yeah. Well, we've had people come on who cry at the drop of a hat. He doesn't do well with that person. that wearing the emotions on the sleeve, being too emotional, being too up and down, that's kind of more a personality trait, I think. But the other thing is just firm and soft. I'm saying firm and soft, and what I mean by that is, are you a drill sergeant? And that's taking it to the extreme.
Right.
Or are you, Al runs the show. I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to step on his toes. He should have everything he wants. Poor guy, you know. Because when he's being a punk, there is nothing that we want less than a softie. We need someone who can speak to him with a firm tone, not mean, but
That
firm.
mom voice,
And
I call it.
mom voice, the mom
Don't
voice.
you even think about it.
And send a very firm message that we know what's best with you and we're going to help you through this.
Right.
And he loves the confidence that that sends to him and the security that that gives him. And what he loves more than anything on the planet is a team member who's genuine. That is his favorite thing. He loves a team member who's there. He understands they've got to earn money. He understands this is a job for them. But there are so many. We've been very fortunate to have so many team members that go beyond that and show their genuine side of, I care about you, dude, and I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And I want you to have an enriched life. And I want to do everything I can to bring that to you every day. And we have been fortunate that way.
For sure.
Of course, we've had some nightmares too, but let's not talk about that today. So we really are looking for that person. And that sometimes is hard to size up in that first interview.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to size up. So that sometimes can fail us, but we're in a really good place right now with his behavior. Our behavior eruptions, our meltdowns, we don't have a lot of those right now.
No.
We're in a really good spot. We have had them since he moved out of the house, and we do have things that we look for, precursors, but we need that person that's going to be firm with him when he needs to have that direction and have that support.
Yeah. For sure. I think one of our first nuggets of education and training I like to give is just the simplest line of, Alec does not get what he wants unless his behavior is what we want.
Oh, I love that.
Very simple. That is my nugget line to them. That is my basics of ABA 101 for somebody coming in knowing absolutely nothing. If you know nothing, at least know this. We expect a high bar for Alec. He knows what that bar is. He's going to test you, not because he necessarily wants to get away with it, but because he wants to know, if he does struggle, are you going to be able to hold him to this high bar? And we have embedded that in him since he was a young kid. And I've had many people come in and just be like, oh, whoa, you guys mean business. And it's like, we do, but do you see the result? Yeah. This is why we mean business, because this guy can go anywhere and participate in almost anything. And and
I don't want to sound like a psychologist at this point, or maybe I do, but he really appreciates those boundaries.
Absolutely.
He loves the boundaries. The boundaries being clear are security for him. I know your expectations. I know what you want.
Yeah.
Now let me deliver that to you.
And it's almost less and less as we've trained over the years. He's testing people less. I think as our training has really tailored and gotten better, it's not, does this person have expectations for us? He knows that overall his team has expectations. He doesn't have to look to each individual, because we train equally across the board, right? We're instructing everybody the same way. Yes. But that firm but not mean is absolutely giving him the confidence that this person knows what's best for me. And that gives him that sense of security, like you said. So,
And of course, we're overseeing everyone. So there's no one that we've had that has really taken that too far. It's, we train very, very carefully.
yes. And ongoing.
We've been very happy with, and it's ongoing. We're always looking.
Yep.
So.
Well, and like I had mentioned earlier, as we get through our interview questions, our very next step, although we don't involve Alec in the initial interview, kind of part 2 to that is this meet and greet with Alec. We like to allow this individual time to meet with him and with a team member separate from us. We are not a part of this second interview, and this gives them an opportunity to see Alec in his natural environment. They get a little tour of Alec's house. They get to have a conversation with a team member who is doing exactly that job that they are trying to be a part of. They can ask them questions that maybe they didn't feel comfortable asking us. And then we have a little bit more feedback from that other team member as well. How did they interact with Alec? What did Alec have to say about it? What were your thoughts on it? It's not just us, but it's another level of interview that way that, hopefully works for all individuals that way.
And we've had some people that we think the interview went really well.
Yeah.
And then they don't ever call us to do the meet and greet. And we go,
oh,
what happened there? and sometimes we'll hear, oh, they got a different job. They were interviewing for something else simultaneously, and they actually got the other job. And so they took it. But I will remember one of my favorite memories of a job interview is at the end of the job interview, the girl says, "Can I give you a hug?" And I just looked at her like, we just had a job interview. Like, we're not friends.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And I was kind of like caught. I said, do you need a hug? I mean, I'm willing, I guess, to give you a hug. And all of that kind of didn't give the indication to her that maybe I was not the type that thought that was appropriate at the end of an interview. She was a little slow on the uptake on that one. But then she didn't end up, and I mean, I go ahead and hug her, okay? I should get credit for that. But then she didn't even come for the meet and greet. She ended up taking another job. And I thought, hey,
I gave you a hug.
What was that about? I gave you a hug. What the heck?
That at least meant second date, right?
Anyway, so that was kind of a funny one. I mean, we got stories.
Yes,
we got stories,
do.
But
yes, we do.
We've had some fun interviews.
Oh, there's some interesting people out there, but we have met some of the best. Alec has had an incredible support over many, many years, specifically since he's been doing, living on his own there in Utah. And we've created this team. We call them our dream team. And I think back to the very beginning, we had such a great setup. And then I think about 2 years ago and I'm like, oh, that group was so great. Or, oh, I miss so-and-so. And, oh, remember when, it's so many fun stories as these individuals have brought such fun life and personality to Alec's home.
And we keep up with so many of them.
Many. I mean, you should see the invite list for his birthday is just such a fun celebration every year.
Yeah.
Whether they're in town or not, everybody knows that Alec's birthday is a big deal and we go big every time. And it's awesome. And he just
October 1.
He just lives for it. So it's been a huge blessing for him. And I think because people love him so dearly, and I mean, all these individuals are just easy to love as you get to know their personalities as, maybe they're nonverbal, but they still have so much to offer. I think it's brought comfort to Alec that even though people have moved on and he's had to say some really hard goodbyes, so many of his most favorites are still so close. And they reach out to him and he, hears from him regularly, and treats pop up on his doorstep from people who were on his team at the very beginning. And that means a lot, not just to him, but I know to Christi and to myself. So just be open to loving and caring for these people that you hire just as much as you would want them to care and love for your child. They truly become part of your family, part of your story. And it's a great opportunity for everybody involved.
And being that mother of a newly diagnosed autistic child, I was like, wait a second, what? Like 6 people are going to have like a revolving door on my house, and so you want these people to be people you enjoy and that you don't, that's a good addition to your home.
Yeah. I mean, especially with other kids, right? They aren't just stuck in a corner or stuck in a room with one of your children. They're interacting in your home. They're in the kitchen. They're in, your backyard. They're probably swimming in your pool.
Yes.
Back in the bathroom doing toilet training and all the things, the nooks and crannies of your home. And that's where you're living your life. And you've got to be able to enjoy them, and they need to be able to interact with your home, your family, your other kids. So all of these topics are very, crucial to.
I have 3 other children. So the other children are all older than Alec. The closest one in age to him, I think there's 3 years in between. Yeah, there's 3 years in between. And so they've all gotten to know our consultants and our any professionals that we've had. We would have Christmas parties and invite the whole team, plus the occupational therapists, the speech therapists, close friends that were very supportive, and really try to show our appreciation for these individuals who made our life so much better by teaching him skills and enriching his life. We were going to talk just a tiny bit about pay rate, not too much, because pay rate just varies from region to region, state to state. We found that with our program, because we had a home program in Texas when he was growing up. Then he spent some time in Colorado in a group home there, and then he ultimately is now in Utah. And so the pay rate just from state to state is very different. And we were talking about it earlier. We don't really tend to get people who are in graduate school. That graduate school for autism training will cause the rate to go higher. They have more experience and they expect higher rates, especially in Texas. I know that's true. So that is going to be like something you're going to want to talk to your consultant about, if your consultant's willing to go there. As far as pay rates go, you can also talk to, if you have a support group. I got a lot of information from my support group whenever Alec was first starting out, and just really understanding how to make a pay scale is important, to be able to say, oh, I don't start anyone lower than this number. That's what I always had as my rule when he was a kid. We have that. We have a very standard rate that people start at. We hardly ever have anybody start higher than that, because we just don't get many people with the education or the experience that would warrant a higher rate.
Yeah, and might I add, I mentioned that probationary period, and you can set that for whatever duration you'd like, but this is just kind of our test period. And during this test period and during their training, it requires a great expense to train these individuals. And so we have a different pay rate for that probationary period and for their training, because we've set it up to be a little bit self-paced within our parameters. but it shows some initiative on their part, and then they will jump to a full-time pay rate once they have shown proficiency in training and past, our probationary period. So consider that as you're thinking about pay and, setting those expectations from the get-go, if that's something to consider for yourself.
Well, and then sometimes there's different limitations on pay that you will have. Like, I know for our insurance, during certain insurances that we had when Alec was younger, there was a price per unit or price per hour. I can't remember now right off the top of my head how that went, the wording of how the insurance speak. But we had a rate that we were allowed to pay. And so sometimes that would dictate what I was able to pay.
Yeah. I think also if your consultant is one that can sign off on hours, if you are hiring grad students, that's appealing. We've had several medical students. This counts towards clinical hours for them. So they're kind of...
Well, future medical students. Yes. They're applying
pre-med,
to medical school.
I'm sorry, pre-med students.
Pre-med, yeah. Yes.
But who are looking to accumulate clinical hours. And we offer that. That's kind of a perk and a way that they can double dip. Not to say that we're paying them less than anybody else on our team, but
no.
People who are looking to get hours signed, I know that would be an appealing addition, to a pay rate, whatever that happens to be for your area.
We actually, another thing to note here would be that, and maybe we need to have one whole show about pay, because we really run our pay. It's merit based and it's very behavioral based. We like to run it like we would any behavioral program, where we're saying, I'm not giving somebody a raise right after they've fallen asleep on a shift, or, I am not going to give someone a raise right after something has happened that I'm not loving. I want to give a raise right after some really good performance.
Absolutely.
And of course, everybody has their good days and bad days. But just keeping that in mind, that you have the ability to send a little Venmo as a bonus, or you can send a little birthday Venmo, or you can send a little gift or a gift card. Our people like gift cards. Our team members tend to like those. We do a preference assessment. Angie does a preference assessment when people are brought on, and we kind of learn.
Yeah, part of our intake forms. Just again, we're trying to get to know these people. What makes them tick? What makes them work hard? Do they like to be reinforced as a group? Do they like individual reinforcement? Do they enjoy a gift card over cash? Where do you want the gift card? We try and get specific, and then we can go from there on how and when to show our gratitude. And
it's been really interesting to me to see, like, I thought everybody was just motivated by money as the first thing. Why did I think that? I don't know.
Because you are.
Most
are.
Okay.
I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just thinking like you would
what think. Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought, because they got to get a job because they got to help pay their, I thought that was their main motivation. But we found that, like, even some of our first team members there, that wasn't their main motivation. No. They wanted to be recognized. They wanted accolades. They wanted
kudos.
They wanted kudos. They wanted a good group that they could relate to. Like, we have a lot of team building, a lot of it not even on purpose. They naturally just, a lot of the groups that we've had really like to spend time together. They like to get together at a soccer field and play soccer with Alec, So we have different motivations at work there.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to meet the individuals and ask them, what do you want? How can we reward you?
Yeah, they will tell you if you ask, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think biggest takeaway there is just knowing what works for us won't necessarily work for you as far as a pay rate. I think it's just going to be really figuring out what that cost is. I obviously am not paying for an autistic child. I've got kids of my own though. And you think about being competitive as a babysitter. When I have people come and babysit my kids, am I paying for one kid, two, three, or four, you know? And you don't want to totally outprice those in your area. I think that can come back to bite you, and you definitely don't want to be the one undercutting. So I think it's fair, and I think anybody in your situation would be open to having that discussion to be on the same page. You kind of want to be cohesive there.
Well, I had a lady that was in the same area of town in Dallas, and her son is almost exactly the same age as Alec, and she and I would sometimes hire the same person to work on her team as worked on my team, and it worked well to sometimes work that way. And we were careful to communicate with each other about that very openly.
Great point.
So that one of us wasn't like way overpaying or way underpaying, so that we, it was more like just an open communication of saying, what do you think here?
Yeah.
So that we didn't steal an employee from each other and kept a really good relationship with us going along.
I mean, you sometimes only have so many hours that you need the help, and it's great if you can tag team that with a friend. That support group is crucial. Yeah. So,
and not a support group to go and cry unless that's what you need. If that's what you need. That's not what I needed. But I'm not judging. If that's what you need, that's what you need.
Absolutely.
Because there are tears.
Yes.
And it's who are you going to share those tears with? Angie is one person I've shared many tears with.
We have shared tears.
We have shared many tears, and we will share more. And they're sometimes happy tears. Most of the time they are, I would say, or just they're touching tears. But a support group can be, we'll talk about this later too, but it can provide a lot of good information.
Yeah, that sense of security too, for sure.
So, I would say that sums up our...
Yes, we hope these 6 topics have been helpful and informative. Again, just to kind of wrap it up, we've talked about values, aligning an individual who's coming into your home or to work with your child to align with your values, whatever they may be, for your child with autism or with other kids in the home. We've discussed education and training, knowing that just because somebody is not educated in the field of applied behavioral analysis doesn't mean that they would not be a wonderful fit to be around your child. Talking about personalities, how do you get to know somebody quickly? How can you word your interview questions to kind of elicit some of those responses to get some ideas as to who the individual is? And then what tone are they going to bring? Are they going to be firm? Are they going to be soft? Are they going to be able to give to your child what your child needs? We talked about Alec needing a firm and a confident individual. That may not be the best fit for your child, and that's okay. But does their personality jive with what you need? And then our probationary period and pay rate, and just how that works for our interview steps and how we bring on and onboard our dream team. Alec has been really lucky to have so many great individuals. We've had plenty of flops and fails that have got past our interview questions. They've even gotten past our probationary period, and then when their feet hit the ground running, they fall flat on their face. But
not very often.
Not often, and not for many years.
So much
at
better
this point, as we've done this time and time again. So we're happy to share these interview questions with you guys. We'll list these in our show notes below. You can kind of have a look at what specific questions we ask our team, and specifically what next steps are for anybody that we are hiring. And we will also be having a part 2 to building a team for your autistic child that we'll discuss kind of what's next. Now that we've hired this person, what do I do?
What do I do?
So
Now the fun
now
begins.
the fun begins. That's right. Any last words, Christi?
Yeah. Just we have had lots of great luck with the teams, and I'm grateful for Angie for creating such a great interview.
Why, thank you.
Questions and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, if you think that's great, you got to see her training because it's top notch.
We have fine-tuned it.
Very, very happy with
Yeah,
it.
it's working. So,
Yep.
you know what they say?
If it ain't broke,
Don't fix it.
don't fix it.
All right. Until next
Anyway.
time. Thank you for joining us today. And don't forget to check us out on social media. If you want to contact us, send us a direct message on our Instagram or our Facebook page. You can find us at Piece by Piece. That's PIECE. Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. Talk to you later.